And it's 10 a.m. right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Good morning, good evening, wherever in the world you're watching from. It's Business Morning coming to you. I'm live from China's HQ right here in Lagos. I'm Ladi Williams. First off, let's get the stories that set your agenda now. We'll see the Naira fell against the US dollar at both the official and parallel markets to close yesterday after the local currency recorded a gain against the dollar in the official market. The previous day, the domestic currency depreciated by 9.73%, closed at 813 naira 97 kobo to a dollar at the close of business yesterday. And data from NAFEM, where Forex is officially traded, showed the intraday high recorded was 1,121 naira per dollar, while the intraday low was 600 naira to the dollar, representing a wide spread of 521 naira to the dollar. And the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Doris Uzoka Anite, has asked manufacturers in the country to prioritize the development of raw materials in the industry to support the struggling sector. She made this known at the Nigeria Manufacturing and Equipment Exposition held in collaboration with the Nigeria Raw Materials Exposition in Lagos. The minister explained that by focusing on value addition and local sourcing, the country can reduce its reliance on imported raw materials and improve the overall competitiveness of our products. She recommended that this will also contribute to the growth of small and medium-sized enterprises and empower local entrepreneurs to participate actively in the manufacturing value chain. And outside our shores, Champagne Zhao is stepping down as CEO of crypto exchange Binance as part of a major $4 billion settlement between the U.S. Department of Justice and the cryptocurrency exchange, which he founded. As part of the settlement, which will be with the DOJ and Commodities Futures Trade Commission, Zhao will also plead guilty to anti-money laundering charges. The deal would mark the end of a Justice Department investigation into the crypto exchange that began at least in 2018. Champagne Zhao is scheduled to appear in Seattle federal court and enter his plea this afternoon. All right, let's get a check on the global oil market now. See, oil prices barely moved during Asian trade today, and the market awaited potentially mixed news on the supply front, with the OPEC Plus producers group expected to discuss output cuts and U.S. crude stocks forecast to show a big buildup. Brent crude futures fell by 3 cents to $82.45 a barrel in early trade, while U.S. WTI crude futures fell 1 cent to $77.76 a barrel. To the grains market now, U.S. soybean futures ended higher on yesterday as Brazil's torrid crop-threatening weather conditions remained a prime worry for the market, despite rains over the last couple of days. Wheat futures also rose more than 2% after Ukrainian official said the Russian forces struck a port infrastructure, one of Ukraine's key export routes. The most active soybean contract on the Chicago Board of Trade, SV1, rose about 10 cents to close at $13.77 for a quarter of a bushel. And to some company news now, the Simba Group has hit another milestone in the Nigerian automobile sector. The manufacturing giants have unveiled their new TVS King Deluxe CNG tricycle in Benin, the Edo State capital. The TVS King Deluxe is a 200cc engine tricycle which operates bi-fuel technology using both regular premium motor spirit PMS and the less economical compressed natural gas CNG. Take a listen.
The slogan of TVS King Deluxe tricycle launch is clear. Future of energy consumption is the compressed natural gas, CNG. The Simba Group has brought together its partners, dealers, as well as customers to the unveiling ceremony of the flagship tricycle.
Drive CNG. Drive the future.
The company says it has taken the initiative to key into sustainable energy solutions in the Nigerian transportation sector, particularly now with the fuel subsidy removal.
By adopting CNG as an alternative fuel, we aim to address the economic challenges posed by a fuel subsidy removal and enhance the environmental sustainability of Edo State. I take immense pride in being part of this transformation journey. Our partnership with TVS is built on a shared vision of transforming communities through innovative, sustainable, and rewarding solutions.
For the first time in Nigeria, the TVS King Deluxe CNG tricycle hits the road.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the future. Ladies and gentlemen, the future is here. Drive CNG! Drive CNG! This is drive the future. Drive CNG! Drive CNG!
The choice of Edo State as the first is a simple one: proximity to gas.
East have the highest reserve of natural gas, and we have the highest filling stations in this state, which will span other states of Nigeria. We are ready because we are the market leaders. The cost of operation is going to be very less because a ballpark figure what we have calculated is a rider in 1 year will save close to 1 million in fuel.
The Simba Group says the rollout of the TVS King Deluxe will spread to others. The new TVS King Deluxe CNG tricycle is set to bring benefits to Nigerians, saving up costs in fueling and lesser pollution to the environment, among others.
Well, to our first conversation now, according to a new report on the Jollof Index by SBM Intelligence, the average cost of preparing a pot of jollof rice for a Nigerian family of 5 has more than tripled within 7 years. Breakdown of the cost of preparing a pot of the popular Nigerian delicacy rose by 220.7% to 13,160 naira in September 2023 from 4,087 naira in July 2016. Well, joining us now is a Kemesit Effiong, partner at SBM Intelligence. Join us via Zoom. Good to have you on the show. Good morning.
Morning, Laddie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we're back at this Jollof Index again. Last time we spoke about this index, it was a new high. Now it's rising even more. Is there a risk that jollof rice might be getting off the menu soon at this point? Walk us through the data here.
That risk is real and palpable, right? So since we started collecting the index in 2015, right, January of 2015, this is a new high. As a matter of fact, it's been touching record highs for the better part of 2022 and 2023. I think this just really tells in stark detail the inflation story, right? You know, all of the constituent ingredients of Jollof Index, right, at multi-year highs. Nigerian families continue to, cost cuts or manage that top line pressure, right, by either reducing the quantity of rice or generally food, right, that they consume, or there lots of families are deploying substitutes, as it were. So fish instead of chicken and turkey, for example, right? So that's where we are really, right, with the Jollof Index. We track this across 13 markets in 9 cities. We saw price increases, right, in practically every market that we polled, right? And this is not even only a Nigerian story, right? Because we track food prices in Ghana as well, and those numbers are also increasing. Ghana itself also dealing with an elevated inflation,
right?
Problem right now. So that's really where we are, right, with Jollof. I know that we're looking at the Christmas holiday period, right, as it were. So sadly, Laddie, I don't necessarily have interesting or particularly comforting news, right, as it were, but that really is the state of affairs on the ground.
Yes, definitely, because festivities also brings its own kind of inflation at this time. But what percentage of the monthly minimum wage would a family of 5 earning about 30,000 have to spend to make a pot of this delicacy?
I mean, it's quite high. So what's quite interesting is that I think about 10 days ago or thereabouts, we we released an income survey where we basically asked, Nigerians generally how they are doing from a financial standpoint and what they are spending on, right? And the average Nigerian household basically spends 97% of its monthly income on food, which basically means that, that shortfall in terms of dealing with all of the other basic necessities of life, right? Think transportation, think accommodation, think education, and the likes. That slack is really being picked up by, things like, credit facilities, right? So a lot of fintech operators, as it were, as well as other financial institutions that offer credit facilities are in a bit of a boom market right now because lots of Nigerians are taking out credit facilities. All of the other traditional mechanisms, obviously leaning on family and friends, right, for support, all of that definitely comes into play. So when you square that study that we did really with this, I think it really tells a average Nigerian consumer is with respect to how much inflation continues to, extract a significant amount of their income, right? And where that leaves it vis-a-vis, applying wealth and applying resources to all of the other things that may guarantee sort of a more stable income profile.
All right, let's look at policies so far, in the report. Which of them do you think worsen the food affordability right now?
The big one is infrastructure, right? We continue to pay, right, at a very significant level for the yawning infrastructure deficits that we have in the country. Now, take note of the fact that with the forex situation and the availability, right, of foreign exchange, right, well, non-availability really is what the market has been characterized by for the last couple of months. It's really difficult for lots of players, right, in the economy to import, right, some of these necessities, which on a short-term basis could provide some relief, right, from those elevated inflation figures, as it were. But when you also consider the fact, and this is where infrastructure comes into play, that, for example, there's no port, right, currently in Nigeria that has excellent access infrastructure, right? So the roads to practically all the ports in the country are either impacted due to, poor maintenance, or they are overcrowded, or they're just seeing, a lot of demand, right? And all of this adds to the eventual price, right, of goods. Whether the climate crisis hasn't been so much of a factor this year as it was, right, last year, but you're also seeing a situation where, things like, the security situation in important food growing regions continues to remain, an important, definer, right, in this market. So it's really a suite of policy in action that continues to ensure that Nigerians are paying really elevated amounts, right, to keep food on the table for themselves and their loved ones, right. But I think the really big one that continues to color and characterize this market is that infrastructure story.
All right, let's look at the substitute here to jollof. I'd say fried rice or rice and stew. Are those prices also rising?
Yeah, so we track food prices for all of the inputs that go into making all of the different types of rice. I don't think there's any sort of rice hedge, right, as it were, right? I would argue that fried rice is probably a bit more expensive to prepare than jollof rice, so that's probably the wrong side of the market to look at. Rice and stew is probably a better substitute just because, again, you can play with the kind of sauce component that you have, that you would put, right, in that stew component. So that maybe is the hedge, right, in the market at the moment. But I would argue that it's probably not hedging you by much. Probably the real hedge is in looking at other non-rice culinary components. I know that there's been significant health, for example, right, in sort of the wheat and the starch and sort of the cassava derivative market, as it were, because lots of people, right, are just preparing more soup, right, where again there's a lot of room for maneuverability, right, and ingenuity if you're trying to save a naira or two, right? So that's probably where to look at right now. But if you're a rice lover, you're a rice heavy person, then you're probably having your plate of rice with some tears to accompany it.
We do love our rice right here, and I know like the Yoruba stew can be quite basic, sometimes, and I feel like that should be affordable. It's just really big because I cook myself, so I know how to make some of these delicacies at this point. I know that the Yoruba stew is quite cheap. If you're not adding too much protein, in there. But which market, according to the report, is the most expensive place to make jollof rice, and which is the cheapest right now from your report?
So generally the North Central, the North Central and the Southeast markets tend to be at polar ends, right, of the divide, right? The North Central generally being more expensive. I mean, the Abuja markets, right, are usually quite interesting because even though nominally that part of the country is surrounded by some of the main food growing regions of the country, right, all of those regions are security impacted, right? And so if you're shopping out of Wuse or if you're shopping out of Yanya markets, which are the two markets in the FCT that we poll, then you've probably seen, and I mean, you've definitely seen, right, an increase in your shopping bill. The Southeast generally tends to do well. From a food security standpoint, it's mostly self-sufficient. And so it generally, it generally is the best performer from a regional perspective, right? In our index, and some of those price saving mechanisms, right, are also also come into play at a more significant degree, right? And so Oka and Onisha are some of the cheapest places in the country now as per pot of jollof rice.
Right, and looking at this report at this time, what are your recommendations that should be the response to the challenges highlighted in this food market? And you talk about potential unrest in this report. Walk us through that.
Yeah, so obviously addressing the security picture will go a long way towards helping. I know that there's a lot of conversation on the policy side around what to do with infrastructure. Funding remains obviously a key concern, right, in that respect. But probably doing a better job of prioritizing which infrastructural projects, right, to invest in will probably be the smart strategy to go, especially in enhancing those regional linkages, right? So you look at Lagos and Port Harcourt, for example. How do you enhance those transport links to ensure that the surrounding states and the surrounding regions, which feed, right, those big markets in those two main metropolitan areas, right, are better connected to the internet? That would do that would do some quick work, right, within the next sort of 6 to 12 months to begin to arrest some of those inflationary trends in those specific markets. Finally, the overall policy posture has to be one of food security as against food self-sufficiency. And I know there's a lot of conflation on the policy side, but also on the commentary side around what those two things mean, right? Food security prioritizes getting food into the plates of your taxpayers and your citizens at the lowest possible, right, price. And if that involves, right, some form of short-term importation, right, in order to create that cushion, right, for consumers, that's important. Food self-sufficiency on the other hand prioritizes you growing as much of what you want as possible. Now, when you consider the funding challenges, building that into infrastructure, upgrading the way we do agriculture, most of Nigerian agriculture is still at a subsistence level, even in 2023, right? Food security is probably the easier and the quicker strategy to deploy while we gradually build towards a wider food self-sufficiency strategy. I think, just having all of these moving parts, right, working in sync with each other is probably the best way to go in order to ensure that you, Laddie, and I continue to enjoy our pot of jollof rice at reasonable rates.
Exactly. I think I need to look into my food garden and get that going at some point. But I think I saw the Ghana Jollof Food Index. It looked like it had a downward trend to it, looking at that slide. And we've had that debate, which one is the best. So since it's more expensive here, does that make our jollof better? More pricey?
Well, I mean, I mean, you could look at it from the standpoint of Nigerian Jollof being a premium product. I know what you're doing with that question, Ladi.
Right.
And I don't know whether to play that game with you. But I should say that Ghanaian headline inflation, right, has come down somewhat, right? And so that was sort of reflected in the index. More importantly, Nigerian Jollof is more expensive than Ghanaian Jollof, largely because of that foreign exchange currency risk, right? And so I don't think it's really about the fact that, even though I know there are lots of culinary innovators out there here in the country, but I don't think it's really because we've sort of moved the needle on jollof rice innovation yet. It's really just because the value of the naira has moved somewhat within the time we track these numbers.
Right. All right. So I guess we'll just say, well, maybe Nigerian Jollof is the best because we're Nigerians. Thank you so much. Kemisit Effiong, partner, SBM Intelligence. Great having your perspective this morning.
My pleasure. Thanks.
All right, we'll take a break now. In Nigeria, it's World Investor Week. We'll hear more about how it's going to be marked right here in Nigeria. Do stay with us. And it's the 7th annual World Investor Week, and the Securities and Exchange Commission in Nigeria set this week aside to mark the global event. Well, joining us now is Mr. Tunde Kamali, Director, Market Development Department, Securities and Exchange Commission, Nigeria. Join us from our Abuja studio. Great to have you. Good morning.
Good morning, Lady. Thanks for having us on your program.
Fantastic. So definitely, we know 2022 was a tough year for investors, with the war in Ukraine. We saw it was risk-off, sentiment. There was big flight, to safety. And, some investors suffered losses that still held on. Talk to us about the significance of World Investor Week and what are the objectives and what activities does the SEC have lined up for this celebration?
Okay, thank you, Ladi. To start with, I would like to take a second or two to give a background to the whole World Investor Week commemoration. The World Investor Week is a week that is designed by IOSCO, and by IOSCO I mean the International Organization of Securities Commissions, which is the international standard-setting body for over 96% of capital market jurisdictions in the world today, for the purposes of highlighting the importance of investor education and investor protection, which is where the capital market stands, as in with respect to how it runs. The capital market runs on trust. And when trust is lost, then there wouldn't be a market. However, in the realization of a fact that investor education is the first level of protection, and there are two sides of the same coin. And an informed investor is a protected investor, as he will know what to do, what steps to take, what kind of decisions to make at any point in time. So the essence of the World Investor Week, too, where we find ourselves today, the world over, especially with respect to the Ukraine-Russia war, is the fact that the investor needs to know at every point in time. And knowing should not be selective. Investors within the same jurisdiction should receive information at about the same time as possible as that can be, and to the same level of granularity and detail. And what does that mean? If I have information, I know what not to invest in at this point, I know what's happening, and I know the right decisions to take. So basically, the essence of a World Investor Week, which is the 7th in the series, is started 2017, is to highlight the importance of ensuring that investors are very well educated so that they can make informed decisions at any point in time, and also be protected from falling victim or putting their hard-earned money into bogus schemes and investments.
Yeah, and definitely we've seen investors fall for different kinds of Ponzi schemes. At this time, they look so attractive. Everyone's trying to make a buck. here, but what has been the impact so far of marking this week? Is the 7th one, and what are you expecting going forward?
Okay, the beauty is information not shared has no relevance to either the Abinger, that's whoever is has it in its possession, or the people to whom it should go. So what we have realized is over time, with the efforts of the Commission and stakeholders in the market, we have been able to expand the knowledge net, even though there's still a lot to be done. And with respect to Ponzi schemes, I guess the first factor of attraction is human, and that's greed, whether we like it or not. I come to you to say, okay, this is an investment from which you make maybe 10% on a yearly basis, but some other person comes and says you make 40, 50, 60% in 2 months, and you rather go for that. However, education could help to stem the level of greed that we have seen over time. And I also believe that people themselves, especially those who had their fingers burnt, become ambassadors of the capital market instead of going for those bogus schemes. And we continue to do public enlightenment programs. We also go to schools, we go to markets, we make publications. Today we're on TV, and I can only imagine how many millions of people are watching. I will take away 1 or 2 things from this program. But at the end of the day, IOSCO felt, let us dedicate a whole week to highlight this and bring it to the fore, even before policymakers, but before even the man on the street, so that they feel the need to have a rethink on where to put in their money for investment with the requisite knowledge that they need. So,
right.
So we have seen an increase in knowledge base, all right, even though, like I stated, a lot still needs to be done. But we will not relent on our oars.
Yeah, because when an investor, identifies an investment opportunity or asset class, sometimes it's time sensitive, and you feel like, what, I need to take this opportunity now before, I lose it. How do you manage that FOMO, that fear of missing out, manage that so you don't make, the wrong decision, or if it's the right decision, even though it might look too good to be true, but turns out to be good, how do you manage that time lag?
Okay, like I stated earlier, the market runs on trust. It runs on information. And information should reach every interested party at the same time, to the same level of detail and granularity. Your timing in taking your decision now becomes an individual thing. However, for the level of development of our market, what we're looking at now is to even encourage retail investors to, instead of buying shares directly on the market, to go through mutual funds, which are easier and are managed by professionals. I can also tell you that a whole lot, maybe about 80% or thereabout, even though I may not have the authority or the right statistic, but a lot of investors today do not understand the market. They buy stocks based on emotions, some on referrals, but if you buy collective investments, all you need to do is put in your money, and the fund manager, who is a professional and under the regulation of the commission, would invest it for you from, well, if I may, from a scientific point of view, so to say. It wouldn't just be, okay, yes, I invested last year and this is how much I made, I think you should also invest. No. So we're encouraging retail investors to consider coming in through mutual funds, or what we call collective investments, so that they could go to rest and let the professional fund managers take over the management. And in this area, you can start your investments with as little as 5,000 naira, and then grow over time with as much as you may have or as you may desire.
Right, but it's the seventh annual World Investor Week. I see the focus on about three main themes: investor resilience. There's also crypto assets, sustainable finance. How is the SEC in Nigeria seeing, crypto investments right now?
Okay. Thank you, Ladi. Crypto investments today in Nigeria is not legal, so to say, and it's also not encouraged. And we say this because as we speak today, Nigeria ranks second on the Global Crypto Adoption Index for 2023. And if you look at what has happened in the recent past with exchanges coming down and people losing their investments, I think there's a need for us to be careful. And where the majority of an environment such as Nigeria do not understand a particular product, it is not the best to open the floodgates and allow them go to town with it. What you realize is a lot of people would invest, like we had earlier noted, based on emotions, or based on referrals, based on recommendations by people who are as ignorant as they are, and should anything happen, that's where they come to the regulator. So for now, it is best that we slow down, try to understand that environment, and see how we can, now we go back to education, how we can educate whoever wants or wishes to invest in that area, and what kind of protection nets can be set such that should anything happen, investors will not lose their money. It's a very esoteric environment as we speak, and it is only reasonable that we'll be careful in entering into that space. So we'd advise Nigerians who do not understand not to dabble into it. Do not put your money into ventures you do not understand, so that you don't burn your fingers at the end of the day.
Right, definitely. And we know, like some other regulators in Europe and US, they've come out with some guidelines, towards cryptocurrency, in those climes. I'm sure we can expect something soon here.
Yes, we're actually working on it, but like I said, we also need to be careful given the peculiarities of our environment. We shouldn't compare ourselves with European markets. They're developed markets. We are developing markets. So if they take a step in 5 days, it may take us the next 10 days or 15 days to take the same step to ensure that we do not make the wrong or not imperfect regulations that would at the end of the day be a disservice to our market and to our people.
Right, definitely.
But you should expect something very soon.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we know Nigerians are going through a cost of living crisis right now. The average minimum wage earner spends all of their money on food. So many are not looking to invest, at this time. What's your advice to that minimum wage earner or middle class individual that's not even thinking of investing right now because they're trying to eat?
Okay, good. My response to that is yes, agreed. The living cost is so high, minimum wage is not desirable and all that. But I can tell you, if you fast today, you break the fast tomorrow. But if you don't fast today, there will be no fast to break tomorrow. No matter how tight it might be, like I stated earlier, the investments you can start with as low as 5,000. And then you start to add to it. You could add less than that in the course of time. But if you make it regular, you'll be shocked within a period how much you would have had in investments. And whether we like it or not, yes, things could be hard. But for it to be better tomorrow, we must also be ready to plow and give the sacrifice. It's a pity that we find ourselves where we are, but I bet you we're only fasting so that we can break the fast with a sumptuous meal at the end of the day. So that should not stop us completely from considering our tomorrow. Like they say, when you invest today, you're investing for the raining day. And whether you like it or not, that day will come. So take the pains today so that you can have the gains tomorrow. Thank you.
Right, and I'm definitely hoping one day I'll be a billionaire investor sometime and maybe pass through, this whole situation and still be able to invest. Thank you so much for coming on, Mr. Tunde Kamali, Director, Market Development Department, Securities and Exchange Commission, Nigeria.
Thank you very much. I look forward to sharing and spending in your millions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have
Why
a great
not?
day. Bye-bye.
Why not? Thank you. All right, so talking about investments, we have Will Ibong to give us details from the local bourse and the fixed income market. Definitely, everyone's trying to make a buck at this time, and we're seeing quite a bullish trend in the local bourse, but who knows? We keep talking about, fasting and investing and all of that. You already know my stance.
Yes. You mentioned last week that you needed to fast.
Yeah.
So I think someone is trying to remind you that you need to fast actually to be able to grow your wealth.
So I can invest. Even though I don't have, my income is attacked on every side.
I'm wondering, when he said that, you have to make the sacrifice to be able to earn, for the betterment of your tomorrow, and I'm not thinking someone who's earning 15,000 naira, 20,000 naira, where is he going to make that sacrifice from? How is he going to make that sacrifice?
There's also the risk that with investing, you can lose your money. So you have to look for the safest investments if you're even going to make that sacrifice at this point.
So it's quite tricky and very, very sketchy there. One has to be very careful, especially in these times. So we're just seeing, we're just kicking off with the Treasury bills market, where the bond market traded quite quietly, very muted there. Average yield was unchanged at 15.9%. Let's look quickly at the Treasury bills market, the NTB market, where we saw bullish sentiments, meaning yields are dropping there, contracted by 6 basis points to about 12.7%. Now, across the curve, we saw the average yield closing flat at the short and the mid segment, but declined at the long end as participants demanded the 247-day to maturity bill. Now, looking at the almost segments, also paired dropped by 1 basis point to 14.7%. Now, there is a Treasury bills primary market auction today, where about 211 billion naira worth of instruments will be on offer. But let's bring in Chuka Nwachukwu, is the head Asset and Liability Management UBA, to give us more insight on that. Now, Chuka, good morning. It's good to have you on the program.
Good morning, Will.
So, Chuka, we're seeing today is the NTB primary market auction. What are expectations in terms of yield? Some people are hoping for a 17% for the long end, the 365-day paper. What are expectations, or what are general sentiments for today's auction?
Okay, thank you. The general sentiment is that the yield will move up slightly, about 25 to 30 basis points. The last auction came out 16.75. That's well over 375 basis points movement from 13%. It came out at the previous auction. Subscription at the last auction was well over 800 billion, and then well over 497 was sold. So this auction, though the system liquidity is pretty tight, system came out. System liquidity as of yesterday was in negative of 97 billion, and so we expect that except anything drastic happen, this system liquidity will continue to be tight between now until next week, where there will be fact payment. And so this auction is looking a bit dicey because the system is tight. But however, investors and traders feel that it will print slightly higher, since the government is looking to borrow more from the market.
Okay, we're also seeing that the central bank has postponed the scheduled MPC meeting this week. Is this going to be a contributing factor for this auction? How do you see it affecting today's auction? Is there going to be an impact in terms of investors worried or cautious in trading, not knowing the monetary policy direction of the Central Bank of Nigeria?
I think the investors actually were a bit surprised with the postponement. However, it's due to the fact that inflation came out 27.33. Investors expect to see higher yield, at both T-bills market and the bond market. And so I do not think that it will have much postponement of MPC meeting will have much impact. Don't forget that CBN has also had, in several ways, communicated some of their direction, some of the activities they intend to carry out through communique and all that. So though the investors were hoping for this auction, but however, I don't see that affecting what happens at the primary market. I mean, at the primary auction market today.
Okay, we've seen this ping pong yo-yo game going on in the FX markets. Yeah, it's the official market today is closing positive, tomorrow is closing negative. Yesterday it closed negative 9.7%, depreciated by 9.7% to close at 830, about 830 naira 97 kobo to a dollar. How do you see this impacting investors' sentiment in terms of this yo-yo game going on? And do you see the FX situation stabilizing anytime soon based on what the central bank is saying?
I think the policy direction of the federal government, especially what the president is doing, going around the world, trying to woo investors, will bring in a lot of confidence in the system. However, within the short period, we see a lot of like you use the word now, yo-yo, in terms of FX demand and supply. We still see a bit of depreciation. So that's will continue within the next 3 to 4 months. However, I'm very confident that in the next 6 months, when the policy, most of these investments, and then most of these most of the things that the president has put in place start getting a positive sign, we'll begin to see investors come in, and then once that happens, we see appreciation in the naira. Don't forget that this is also towards the end of the year. A lot of companies, a lot of investors are, winding down activities, and so everything now depends on the first quarter of next year, which we obviously chart the course for the rest of the year as per what will happen in the FS market.
So how do you see the outlook? What's your outlook for today for trading in the fixed income markets?
Yeah, so the outlook for today, throughout this week, liquidity is very key, and so we expect to see a bearish sentiment. A lot of banks are pretty tight now, and so we expect to see a bearish sentiment, sell-off, in order to create liquidity for activity. We will see what happens on the T-bills market for the rest of the week is determinant on the outcome of the auction today, and so that will obviously be today's trading will be on the slow side. On the bond side, we'll be seeing the 2053. Which printed at 18%, slightly trading around 18.1 levels. And that is because of bearish sentiment on that other end as well. Most traders feel that yield will continue to go up. And so they are also trying to sell off some of the assets to create liquidity. So it's going to be moderate but bearish sentiment for the rest of the week for both markets.
Thank you so much, Chuka Nwachuku, Head Asset and Liability Management, UBA, for sharing your insights this morning.
Thank you very much.
So we'll take a quick look at the local bourse, the equities markets, and seeing that it reversed, Monday's loss. Closed in the green yesterday. I did ask for a green close, and I got it, thank God. Now, so the all-share index recorded a 0.08% uptick to close at 71,066 points yesterday. Market cap still at 39 trillion naira. We gained about 32 billion naira yesterday, and this performance was supported by bargain hunting in Lafarge. You see that uptick yesterday for Lafarge, 1.4%. Now, month to date, year to date, still in positive territory. Let's look at the turnover chart yesterday. We see total volume traded rose by 37.09% to 491.39 million units, valued at 3.22 billion naira. That's decline of 26.09%. Now, all transacted in 6,549 deals. Now, look at the sectors. Let's see how they performed yesterday. Banking sector was up yesterday, 0.46%. We did see UBA and the Fugas, except for FBN Holdings, which closed flat yesterday, all trading in positive territory. Consumer goods was down because Cadbury was, despite the gains in Cadbury, we still saw that loss yesterday. Industrial goods up 0.08%, insurance up 2.13%, oil and gas still unchanged from its opening levels. Now, Unity Bank, if you look at the top trades yesterday, we see Unity Bank being the most traded stock by volume yesterday, 75.44 million units traded, while VFD Group was the most traded stock by value at 481.81 million units. Look at market breadth, very positive market breadth. We had 45 stocks gaining yesterday, and Learn Africa topped that chart. Mikio was also on that chart, and investors are quite worried about Mikio because the stocks that are out there are not, the supply is not meeting the demand, and so we see that stock price still rising and climbing higher each day. We hope that Mikio does make that stock available for investors to actually buy. So now we see Champion Breweries was the loser yesterday, and O&O also in that losing chart. Now let's look at the unlisted market yesterday. It was down, however, trading in the opposite direction as the NGX, 0.04% down. Looking at the volume chart, we've seen a 2,794% uptick for volume, 3.50 million units traded, 12.18 million naira in value, up 70.7%. Now all transacted in 11 deals, up about 120% yesterday. So the market is quite bullish for equities, but NASD still needs to catch up in a way, certain way. So we're hoping that happens. Ladi, we're just hoping that the market, for NASD rebounds today.
Yep.
And we're hoping that the equities market sustains the bullish trend, doesn't drop, so despite the fact I'm not wearing a green.
Convincing yesterday.
I wasn't so convincing.
No, the pickup we saw about 0.08, but
yes, it's just a slight one. It's just, feeling the ground, feeling, the pulse, feeling, the environment, feeling the markets, and feeling the sentiment.
Is feeling like deja vu to me, because it seemed like this is what played out last week for the local boss. But I'm watching. I'll see what happens today at the close.
Definitely.
That was Bill there giving us the details from the NGX and the fixed income market. Let's take a look at the ever volatile crypto market now. We see Bitcoin fail to continue high above the 37,800 resistance zone, and we see the color on the screen is blood red right now. From that news we got yesterday about the owner, the founder of Binance Exchange, having to step down and plea bargain of about $4 billion. And we saw the market react to all of that news yesterday. Binance Exchange, one of the biggest exchanges in the world at this time, and with getting that kind of news will definitely set ripples down the market, and we're seeing that with this full blood red right now. Bitcoin 2.55% down. BNB, that's the native coin for the Binance Exchange, and we're seeing that getting a big deep red color, showing that investors had to quickly dump that one going forward. Let's look at the top cryptocurrencies we track now. Greed is still a greedy market, even though with what we saw yesterday, but we're seeing a fall from the 70-point level to about 62 points, but it's still a greedy market at this time. Bitcoin down 2.52%, the biggest drop. We saw altcoins drop about 10%, 12% yesterday on that news. Ethereum, $1,991, losing that $2,000 psychological point, 1.40%. BNB, the biggest downer this morning, 9.34% drop for the native coin for the Binance Exchange. XRP losing that 60-cent level, 59 cents. 3.44%, and Cardano 36 cents. Let's bring in Olumide Additional now, financial market analyst. Hello, Olumide, great to have you.
Yeah, hello, Ladi. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I hope you've been able to breathe from the dumps we saw yesterday in the crypto market. Definitely a reaction would be expected in the market with a massive exchange like Binance, getting that kind of news. But now he did tweet, that's Binance CEO CZ, he did tweet about stepping down. And he was quite emotional about it. It says, "It was not easy to let go emotionally, but I know it is the right thing to do. I made mistakes and I must take responsibility. This is the best for the community at this time, for Binance and for, myself. That's according to CZ. So definitely, Olumide, this is bad news. But if you look at it from another angle, is there some good to this?
Most definitely. I think the market has stabilized. If you look at the Naira, for example, NGN to USDT, what Nigerians used to buy the stable coin, it's still showing stability between the 1,120 to 1,150 bandwidth. And that's pretty much because it shows that a lot of Nigerians are not selling their crypto assets. Binance is the most important P2P platform provider. Nigeria is Africa's biggest, largest crypto market. Chainalysis highlighted that just mid last year to mid this year, Nigerians moved over 56.5 trillion naira worth of crypto assets. So pretty much it had showed that Binance with its systemic exposure definitely would rattle the market, but it hasn't shown that way. And pretty much it's because a lot of pundits have emphasized that the fact that Binance settled to pay 4.3 billion settlement against the Securities and Exchange Commission, the largest civil settlement in one of the largest civil settlements in history. In fact, that amounts to so much that when you cumulatively join the value of Nigeria's tier 1 banks, it's not up to $4.5 billion. So I think the balance sheet still looks healthy. Definitely, CZ would have to make some personal concessions. Though after pleading guilty, he's also going to pay a fine of about $50 million. And we have a new guy in the team, but he has spoken about the fact that he's going to get involved indirectly in the space. That would definitely raise some eyebrows, but longer way, it just shows that the United States are one of the most important financial markets. They usually frown at profits ahead of compliance. I think it shows that going forward that the crypto industry will have to take compliance issues seriously, and more probably the likes of BlackRock, Fidelity, Vesco, the Bitcoin spot ETF might give them more systemic importance via Coinbase. But I don't see Binance losing that market share outside the United States in the nearest future. And that's because they have a very strong penetration in altcoins and alternative markets.
Right, but Olumide, $4 billion, that's a lot of money. Do you think Binance can afford, this amount? And is it time to get your funds off Binance?
Yeah, very tricky. But I think look at it from what they've released and look at the personality of CZ. This is someone that I've met more than 2 times, and I can tell you he has a very humble personality. He's not somebody that you could see that with all the charges, United States Securities Department of Justice will have highlighted his affiliation to properties, but it has just shown that he's quite disciplined when it comes to handling personal finance. But for the company's financial, that's an understatement, because CZ was the head of affair for almost all key issues. But looking at proof of reserves and the fact that Binance agreed to settle tells you that they have within 6 months to pay such amount of funds. Yes, most likely we're going to see moderation in crypto assets in the short term, but it looks more likely that a Bitcoin approval will definitely inflate the prices of many assets and might make it more easier for Binance to settle without robbing folders.
Yeah, and definitely we know, back then, 2017, 2018 era, we know Bittrex, was a top exchange at that time. Everyone was asking when Trex, when is this coin going to list on Bittrex? Then Binance came, and took that crown, from Bittrex. Looking at this situation now, is it the end of an era for Binance?
No, I don't think so. I spoke about the systemic exposure. Binance has over 150 million users. If you look at number of BVN users in Nigeria alone, it's less than 60 million. If you look at the value of transactions they do yearly, is more than the total transactions Nigerian banks do in 3 years. So it tells you that they have strong fundamentals, but definitely that will hit their bottom line in the mid and long term, because the aggressive nature of Binance will definitely be tamed by the Department of Justice monitoring. They're going to monitor the exchange for 5 years to see that they play by the books, and definitely that aggressive nature we have known Binance for many years might not be in play again. Well, I think it's going to make the space much more traditional. We're going to see much more traditional players coming into the space. Compliance issues will now be taken more seriously,
right,
and investing in the US markets will be more of a picky perspective.
Right, definitely. It's still a developing story, and we'll keep tracking as things unfold. Thank you so much, Olumide Adesina.
Thank you for having me.
Right, so that's the news that rocked the crypto market yesterday into today. We'll keep tracking to see how the market continues to react to that news. But that's a wrap on the program today. Don't forget to join us at 1:30 on Business Incorporated for more updates and developments in the world of business. Also, go to www.channelcv.com for more updates. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Have a profitable day.